Hi there, Loy Machedo speaking to you from LoyMachedo.com. Who is Loy Machedo and Think Personal Branding? Now, given that I watch CNBC, Bloomberg, that is Business Insider, CNN, BBC, Financial Times, I keep watching these videos. I've taken data points so as to make me understand as to where the economy is moving. Now, these are my personal opinions. I would like to hear what you have to say. Maybe you think something different, but these are my observations and predictions as to why the recession is going to hit, and it's going to happen in 2019 and it's going to climax at 2020. Okay. Now, it has been a decade since we had the last recession. There's always an upturn and downturn. The economies never keep going up, up, up. They have to go up, they have to go down. So it has been 10 years since we had the recession. That was the mortgage crisis, the housing bubble crisis, and the financial sector crash. Now, it was very simple. They just kept giving loans to people who were not qualified to get money. And when they started to default, it started falling down like, bunch of dominoes. So now what you have, the major problem that is happening is you have no longer the unity that was once there. For example, Brexit. It's very clear that UK is thinking about itself and saying, screw you, we need to survive. How you survive is up to you. So now you have France, Germany, and the other countries on one side. You have UK on one side, that is Brexit. And then you have the Gulf crisis. The Gulf crisis is before the Arab states were together, and now they are no longer together. They are fighting amongst each other. You have Saudi, UAE on one side, you have Qatar on the other side, you have Iran, which is totally something else. And then you have the countries that were completely exploited, like Iraq, like Syria, like Yemen, courtesy of the United States. Okay. Now you also have, on the other hand, you have the European crisis, which is Italy is having a tough time. Venezuela is having a tough time. You have Argentina having a tough time. You have Turkey that is having a tough time. And these countries are really having a tough time maintaining their economies. You have the trade war between United States and China. And the only people who are going to suffer because of this are going to be the consumers, because obviously now they'll have to pay more tariffs. So when you have to pay more, obviously your purchasing power reduces. Then, you also have changing in banking policies, which I've been noticing. The only people who are going to benefit through all this are going to be the rich. Rich are going to keep getting richer. The poorer are going to find a more tougher time. Some of the symptoms of the recession are you tend to see sale happening much more aggressively. You will see outrageous statements of sale like 80% off, 90% off. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't justify the cost. In fact, even if you see the Apple products, they have come with a phone that is supposed to be glamorous, but is supposed to appeal to the cheaper audience. But they are trying to they're trying to capitalize on the trend, which they are not successful. That is why you have these cheaper phones like Oppo, you have One, you have all these other brands that are coming for the same configuration of an Apple, which they're giving you for $200. Okay. You also have the biggest challenge, that is cheaper labor. By cheaper labor, what I mean, where you had one person earning, let's say, 10,000 US dollars. Now the same person, same company, instead of having one person work for $10,000, they'll have two people working for $10,000. And if they really search hard, they can get three people working for the same budget of $10,000. So, companies keep thinking, if I can have three people work for the same budget, why should I employ only one person? So you have three for the price of one. In an office where there were 8 people working, now you'll have 4 people working. You also have these quick get-rich schemes where they try to make it as bullish as possible. And they say, buy now, invest now before you lose out. And that is where the Bitcoin mania, the cryptocurrency mania came up. You'll also have the quick get-rich scheme. Live the life of your dreams, take up this course, you're going to make lots of money. So everyone's trying to squeeze out other people for a quick get-rich scheme. In fact, if you get job offers that say, oh, we want you, you're the right candidate, you need to be careful because there is something fishy going on there. The Middle East survives on construction and tourism and people investing in their economies. So the only thing they can do there is they will try to lax their rules and say, you can buy now, convert your black currency into white currency. You also have the major rift that is happening between the Arab countries. You have Iran versus UAE's trade. It's a massive dent into the trading that was going on there. You have Saudi, which is really trying to battle out with Iran. You have Saudi that is battling with Qatar. You have Qatar that is battling with the UAE. Now, whatever offer UAE gives, Qatar says we'll do better. So if UAE says we'll give you a 10-year visa, Qatar says we'll give you a lifetime visa. If UAE says invest and you'll get 51%, Qatar says invest and you'll get 100% ownership. So they're always trying to outdo each other because they want foreign investments. Then you have Bahrain, Qatar, and Oman, Bahrain, Oman, and Kuwait, who are trying to stay relevant. But now people are questioning whether they should work over there because their economies have stagnated. A big question in the Middle East is payment to the vendors. They will confirm these big projects, which they say is going to be the billion-dollar project, is going to be the trillion-dollar project. The vendors are supposed to give the equipment, supposed to give the materials, but then the payment becomes an issue. And especially if you take PDCs, post-dated checks, the question is, when will you get your check encashed? And if your check does not get encashed on the right time, how do you pay your employees? How do you pay your buyers? How do you pay your sellers? So that's a big question there. You have tons of people who are making the shift from Philippines, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka. They are moving on to Canada, Australia, and Europe, thinking and assuming that they have big jobs waiting for them there. But the problem here is the Canadians, the Australians, the Europeans, even the Americans, they themselves are having a tough time holding on to their jobs. And that is where, if the government doesn't support them in helping them keep their jobs, they would create a ruckus, and companies don't want that. That is why now the countries have made it very hard for you to employ migrants, immigrants. They don't want you to employ immigrants. And that is why they say, why do you want to give this immigrant a job? If you want to give this immigrant a job, prove it to us that you cannot get this talent anywhere. And that is why they make it very expensive, highly complicated, with a lot of documentation to employ an immigrant. And which is why most of the people from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, when they migrate to these foreign countries, they end up with just basic jobs or they end up unemployed. You also have to understand that people have realized in order to sustain, they need to have some job. So many have taken to freelancing jobs. They have taken to, outsourcing jobs through websites like Fiverr, through freelancer.com, Upwork.com, where they try to get jobs. But here also it's become very competitive because where people used to charge like $10 an hour or $50 an hour, today you have someone sitting in their house in Pakistan or Sri Lanka or India charging $3 an hour or $1 an hour. You can't compete with the standard of living. Inflation is going to hit pretty high, whereby whatever income that you were earning, you'll find it very hard to buy the same goods and services for the same amount of money. For example, in the UAE, you have the government, how they are trying to outsource money. How they're trying to get money is, one is with fines. They have fines for everything now. You can take a photograph in the rain. You can drive fast. You don't wear a seatbelt, they'll give you a fine. You also have extra charges for each and everything. There is going to be a surcharge or there's going to be an additional charge. You have new options like visas, where they say you can take this visa or that visa or a creative visa or a freelance visa. So that is how they're making money. You have them opening up with investments, invest here and get the ROIs, which is then again nobody knows because they keep changing their laws. They also have changes in the employment sector where they say, okay, if you employ a person, you need to have his insurance, you need to have his, end of service benefits. And all this is where they take the money, which they give you back. But obviously, since they're holding on to it, it takes time. You also need to understand that banks and large companies are merging in order to fight off competition, in order to cut down their cost. But because of this, the people who are really suffering are the salaried employees, because the biggest expense is fixed expenses, and the fixed expenses comes in the form of salaries. Salaries is the biggest killer. And, when they merge, obviously you save money in terms of the rent, in terms of electricity, in terms of the expenses that come in having two different units. Larger than life personalities will be given jobs. Personal brands will be given jobs. People who are rich will do very well. People who are successful will do very well. People who are enterprising will do very well. However, mid-range businesses are going to suffer. There's going to be a scramble for investments. There's going to be a scramble of mergers. There's going to be a scramble of, trying to survive. And the frauds are going to be massive. You're going to see major frauds unearthed. You're going to see many people who are going to realize, sheesh, the money that I put in thinking that this was a safe investment is now backfired. The major shift that you'll see is salaries are not going to be paid on time. People are going to default in terms of their loans and credit cards. Salaries are going to be offered for much more cheaper. You're going to have more competition in terms of per single job. And companies are going to go desperate in trying to employ talent, which, yes, they would get talent, but obviously it's going to be very hard. It's going to be a fight to the death, as I say. Also, please be careful in not buying, sale, or not going in for those sale offers, because they're just trying to get rid of dead stock. You'll end up buying things that you do not need. And last, if not the least, remember this, that if you have to survive, you need to have a long-term strategy and plan. Make sure that your profile is properly updated, that you have a mentor or business coach or somebody who's guiding you towards creating your brand profile that stands out. Because if you position yourself as a winner, as a person who's a go-getter, who can do something independently and who's a fire starter, revenue generator, business development guy, then you will be in demand. Otherwise, you will not survive, you will not sustain, you will not thrive, you will not grow. So these are my thoughts for the upcoming recession for 2020. Based on my notes. Let me know what you think. I definitely love to have an intelligent conversation. Like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't like it, thumbs down. This is me signing off for now. Take care.